INEC begins distribution of sensitive election materials ahead of tomorrow's election. Plateau State confirms 28 new cases of Lassa fever. In international news, ISIS teen Shamima Begum begs British authorities to re-evaluate her case with mercy. And in sport, court orders the coach's arrest over alleged tax evasion.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatoji. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has begun distribution of sensitive election materials like result sheets and ballot papers to various local government areas across Nigeria ahead of tomorrow's election. President Electoral Commissioner for Rivers State, Obo Efanga, says the exercise for the state at the Central Bank of Nigeria in Port Harcourt will end today. INEC says the timely and transparent distribution of sensitive materials to the various local government areas is evidence that the Commission is willing and prepared to conduct free, fair and credible elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says a total of almost 73 million PVCs have been collected across the country as of February the 11th. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu gave the figures at the Commission's daily briefing in Abuja. The breakdown shows that Lagos State leads with 5.5 million PVCs collected. Kano follows closely with almost 5 million PVCs collected. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on Nigerians, local and foreign observers to trust the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct tomorrow's rescheduled presidential and National Assembly polls without hitches. In a television and radio address to the nation this morning, Buhari said he believed INEC has learned from the mistakes of the past and was fully ready to deliver tomorrow's presidential and National Assembly elections and next month's governorship and state assembly elections. Buhari says he believes INEC realizes the profound and weighted duty that rests upon its shoulders and would not let Nigerians down. The president acknowledged that democracy, being the best form of government, had its own challenges. He called on all Nigerians to be patient to see the upcoming election exercise through to a successful end.
I hereby ask all Nigerians with voting cards to participate in defining the future of our nation by exercising your democratic rights tomorrow.
In other news, Kaduna State Commissioner of Police Abdurrahman Ahmed has faulted figures given by Governor Nasir El-Rufai of the number of people killed in the crisis in Adara, Kajuru local government area of the state. Ahmed says the governor preempted police investigations. Governor El-Rufai had said earlier that 66 Fulani were killed in the local government. Later, he jacked up the figure to 113. Ahmad says investigations were still ongoing and it would be inappropriate to provide any figures at this time. The crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State worsened on Thursday as a faction loyal to the member of the House of Representatives, Oladipupo Adebutu, suspended for anti-party activities a deputy governorship candidate, Reuben Epati. Spokesman of the Atiku Abubakar campaign organization, Segun Showunmi, and 37 candidates of the party loyal to Kashamu. The faction led by Sikirilai Ogundele says the suspension is at the instance of the ward and local executive committees, which noted that affected members failed to appear before them and also did not respond to queries set on them. The Commissioner for Health in Plateau State, Dr. Kundun Dain, has confirmed 10 persons have died of Lassa fever in the state and 28 new cases of the disease have been recorded. Dain says 64 cases were taken to the laboratory for confirmation. 28 were confirmed with Lassa fever. The Health Commissioner said one of the confirmed cases was imported from Kaduna State, adding that most of the affected persons were responding to treatment. Dain advised the residents of the state to report immediately to the nearest health facility if they felt any form of fever. A lawyer, Joe Agi, has explained why he paid $30,000 into a domiciliary account belonging to Nigeria's Chief Justice, Walter Onohe. In a statement, Aji said the cash was given to him by Onohe in 2009 to be deposited into the account after it was opened. Agi also confirmed previous reports that he stood as a referee for the suspended judge when the account was opened in 2009. Aji, who had been tried and acquitted on allegations of fraud alongside the suspended judge, Adeni Ademola, described his current investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission as an act of undue harassment. Manufacturers who use gas to power their plants are eagerly looking forward to implementation of a new directive from the government that the product should be sold for just under $4 per standard cubic meter. Chairman of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Gas Users Group, Dr. Michael Adebayo, said the government had directed in its January Gazette that the price of gas should be reduced from $7 to $3.85. Adebayo said the Gazette was signed by the Minister of State's Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, but revealed some franchise holders to the gas companies were not comfortable with a reduction in price.
Let's price our gas that is produced here in Naira. Let's produce our product in Naira. Let's sell our product in Naira.
The Senate and House Committee on Gas should please intervene, as was done in the past by their predecessors, to prevent a possible collapse of the economy and manufacturing sector in particular.
Coming up, African stories. Sudan government arrests opposition leaders ahead of protest. And later, international news. Shamima Begum, ISIS bride, asks British authorities to reconsider revocation of her citizenship.
You are watching ANN.
Hey, big head. I am sorry. Where are you?
I'm at the bus stop.
Okay, dinner is ready and mommy wants you to come home.
Okay, I'm coming as soon as I get the bus.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now a look at our continent. A Sudanese opposition party says more than 10 opposition leaders were arrested by the government ahead of a day of protest that was to continue calls for President Omar al-Bashir to resign. The Sudanese Congress Party said in a statement, security forces have preempted demonstrations by arresting the deputy head of the Omar party, Mariam Sadiq al-Mahdi, the party's Secretary General, Said Natdaleh, community party leader Mokhtar al-Khatib and others. Police were said to have fired tear gas to disperse hundreds who had gathered to march near the Arab market area. A wave of protest, sometimes violent, has rocked Sudan since December. Demonstrators have taken to the streets to call for President al-Bashir's resignation. Activists say nearly 60 persons have been killed in this protest, but the government says figures say 30. At least 18 persons are reported killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo when a truck loaded with industrial acid collided with a stationary bus. Media reports that the accident happened near the village of Gunrume in a copper and cobalt mining area in the southeast. Police captain in charge of road traffic in Lualaba province said on Thursday 21 were dead and 12 injured after the acid poured out onto the passengers. But the Lualaba's provincial health minister, Sami Kayombo, said 18 were killed and 12 hurt. UN radio channel Okapi says the damaged truck continued to spill its contents until midday on Thursday, and acid flowed as far as the village of Kabwe. The World Health Organization says severe cases of malaria and mortality in Rwanda have decreased by half following a contingency plan that was put in place 2.5 years ago. A WHO report released last year shows an estimated 430,000 fewer cases recorded in 2017 than the previous year. The achievement is attributed to many factors, including the role of community health workers. Information from Rwanda Biomedical Center indicates that more than half of malaria cases are now treated by community health workers, with the introduction of home-based management of malaria for both adults and children through community health workers. Malaria patients are being diagnosed and treated early. The African Union says it will withdraw nearly 5,500 Burundian soldiers amassed at the Somalia-Burundi border on a peacekeeping mission. The continental body had announced 2 years ago the Burundian troops will leave by the end of this month. The force is to be gradually scaled back as Somalia's armed forces are trained to replace them. Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza disagrees with AU's move and is fighting the decision he says does not please either his country or Somalia. The two countries have called for an emergency summit to discuss a planned pullout of 1,000 Burundian troops from the African mission in Somalia before the end of the month. Delegates at the GAS seminar in Johannesburg recently were far more upbeat about the local and continental oil and gas sector due to the recent gas condensate find by French oil giant Total in South Africa, as well as with development in Mozambique. Experts are increasingly seeing gas as a tool to help grow economies. The growth multiplier of gas is critical for the continent, and there's also the export potential as a revenue creator.
The building. Okay, and as a group, I mean, it's this is what we do. All over Africa, Total is #1 when it comes to local human capacity building. And in South Africa, that's exactly what we're going to do.
We need to look at gas as an opportunity that can help Africa to unlock two things. One is in terms of driving the diversification of the economy, because natural gas impacts and can boost the development of industrial capacity in Africa.
There is one key question that has to be answered among players before the full potential of gas of the continent can be realized.
To create a regional or a continental gas market that can deliver good returns for both governments and the private sector.
Up next, international news. Shamima Begum, ISIS bride, asked British authorities to reconsider the revocation of her citizenship. And later, sport. Court orders Okocha's arrest over tax evasion.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down, keep walking to the left, yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now a look at news around the world. Britain and the European Union are playing down the chances of clinching an immediate Brexit divorce deal. But diplomats say they were edging closer to a legal compromise. The Prime Minister Theresa May hopes will win over the British Parliament. May is trying to get changes to the divorce package before putting it to another vote in Parliament. If that fails, May will have to decide whether to delay Brexit or endanger the world's fifth largest economy by leaving without a deal in slightly more than a month. May's biggest problem is the so-called Irish backstop, an insurance policy to keep the border open between the British province of Northern Ireland and EU members Ireland if a future trade deal falls short after Brexit. Why the Irish backstop deal is so important is that many Brexit-supporting members of the Prime Minister's party fear it could block Britain into EU rules indefinitely. A London teenager who joined ISIS in Syria has appealed to British authorities on Thursday to reconsider their decision to revoke her citizenship. She wants them to re-evaluate her case with, quote, mercy in their heart, end quote. 19-year-old Shamima Begum was 15 when she ran away to join ISIS with two school friends from East London in 2015. She married a Dutch ISIS fighter and gave birth to a son in a refugee camp last weekend. She now wants to go home. In a Sky Television interview, Begum says she had lost two children and would not want anything bad to happen to their third child. Asked if she could change or be rehabilitated, she replied that she would be willing to change. In a similar case, the father of an American woman, Hoda Muthana, who had been denied re-entry into the United States for leaving home to join the Islamic State in Syria, had filed a lawsuit against the American government asking U.S. leaders to make good faith efforts to return his daughter and her 18-month-old son to the United States. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said on Wednesday, 24-year-old Muthana is not an American citizen, and President Trump had also tweeted on Wednesday about instructing Pompeo not to allow her back into the country. But CNN had obtained her birth certificate, which shows she was born in Bergen County in the state of New Jersey. Muthana joined the Islamic State after becoming radicalized in November 2014. She recently expressed a regret for aligning herself with a terrorist organization that wants to return to the United States with her son. Venezuela's embattled President Nicolas Maduro has closed the country's border with Brazil to block aid entry as a shutdown looms over Brazil's declaration it will help get emergency food and medicine aid into the country. Maduro says this is a part of a U.S. coup plot against him. Amid the mounting tensions, opposition leader Juan Guaido, the self-declared president of Venezuela, has set off in a cross-country caravan for the border with Colombia, where much of the U.S.-supplied aid is warehoused. He has also called on thousands of ordinary Venezuelans to assembly on Saturday to help take the items across. A group of lawmakers who had headed to the Colombia border was stopped a few hours outside of Caracas by National Guardsmen who had blocked the highway with a trailer truck. Not only has Maduro blocked the vast jungle border with Brazil, he has also blocked air and sea travel between Venezuela and Dutch Caribbean island of Curacao, where the first cargo of relief supplies had arrived on Thursday from Venezuelan exile community in Miami, Florida. Another summit between U.S. Presidents Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, is set to take place in Vietnam at the end of this month. Reuters news agency is reporting that Kim will arrive in Vietnam on Monday, 2 days before the beginning of the summit. He will meet with Vietnam's leader and visit manufacturing and industrial sites. Kim and Trump are due to meet the capital city of Vietnam on Wednesday and Thursday next week. The two leaders first met last June in Singapore. The United States hopes to get a firm commitment from Kim on denuclearization. He says it will also help us get us far down the road as possible with a DPRK at the summit. When we return, sports. Court orders the coach's arrest over tax evasion. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sports now, the Lagos State High Court has issued a bench warrant for the arrest of former Super Eagles star Austin Okocha over tax evasion charges. JJ Okocha has allegedly failed to appear before the court to answer why he allegedly failed to pay his income taxes. Justice Adebayo Akitoye issued the warrant for the arrest of the former Eagles captain in late January and thereafter adjourned the case till Tuesday this week. The football star is facing a 3-count charge instituted by the Lagos State Ministry of Justice, bordering on failure to furnish his income returns and non-payment of tax. The Confederation of African Football has dismissed the Gambia Football Federation's appeal over the eligibility of Togo defender Adewale Olufade, but they upheld the original decision of its disciplinary board. CAF has dismissed the GFF's first protest, which claimed the player, also known as James, is Nigerian and does not meet the necessary criteria to play for Togo. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and all the stories, visit the website annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Enjoy your weekend.